Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on today's BCRSP webinar. We'll just give people a couple more minutes to log in to the webinar format. While they are doing that, I just wanted to let you know that if you would like to answer any questions during the presentation, you should see a Q&A box that's available. So feel free to answer those questions, or excuse me, ask those questions if you would like during anything that's presented. And we'll be with you shortly. Okay, and we are also recording this webinar. So if you would like a copy of this webinar after the presentation, you can definitely let us know. But it's a couple minutes past the hour, so I think we will get started. So hi, everybody. My name is Stuart Taylor. I am the program coordinator with the BCRSP, and it's my pleasure to be one of your hosts today for today's information webinar on the BCRSP. Also co-presenting today is we have three certificates that are helping out in this process. We have Tom Welton from Workplace Safety North. We have Jude Groves from Rosenau Transport, as well as Bill Smith from BGIS. We also have Nikki Wright, who's also helping to monitor the Q&A box with me, and she's the Executive Director of the BCRSP. As I mentioned, if you would like to ask any questions during this presentation, feel free to use that Q&A box. We'll also be doing some polls as well. So you'll see some poll responses that we'd like you to respond to, and we'll kind of cover those bases when we get to that point. So without further ado, Tom, over to you.
Great, thanks, Stuart, and good morning, everyone, and welcome. As chair of the communications committee for BCRSP, and we have some members of the committee who will also be presenting today, as Stuart mentioned, we want to provide you a bit of an overview of BCRSP and CRST as well as we move ahead with some of the changes with the program, but to provide you really a full overview of the program material and answer a number of your questions. Just to start out with, BCRSP was established in 1976 and was incorporated as a federal and non-for-profit organization. I've been fortunate enough to actually be part of the governing board, consisting of certificates and a public member. And I have to say, this is probably one of the most effective boards I've ever been involved in. The real goal of CRSP is to set standards for certification for occupational health and safety professionals, and that's really their reason to exist, and are doing a great job at doing that. From the administrative point of view, we have both the Canadian Registered Safety Professional designation as well as the Canadian Registered Certified Safety Technician certification program, which is a newer program. We'll provide you some more information on that as we get into the presentation today. Only national certification bodies for occupational health and safety practitioners in Canada. We are the only certified body, and we're fortunate enough to have gone through a number of third-party accreditations and certifications, including the CRSP certification is accredited under the ISO 17024 standard for certification of persons. And we have an application that has been made for the accreditation for the CRST as well. Also certified to the ISO 9001 standard for quality management systems. The overall vision of CRSP is the safe and healthy workplaces through advancing certifications, and that's really the overall vision of the organization, and you'll see that filter through with all aspects of the certification process. BCRSP also sets certification standards for occupational health and safety professionals. Prior to BCRSP being in place, other than some legislated standards, which have been actually fairly recent in certain parts of Canada, there were no established certification standards for occupational health and safety professionals. So BCRSP has really taken the lead in establishing and solidifying that throughout Canada. So our first poll, please select a response that's most like you. I already hold the CRSP. Well, I'll let you read them since Stuart popped it up there.
That's all right. Yeah, I'll give people a couple of seconds just to answer these questions. So that's great, and then we'll be able to share the results as well.
This gives us an idea from presenters. The people that we have on the line, are they mostly individuals who have CRSP or interested in gaining it, or have CRST or interested in gaining it? So it helps us in adjusting the presentation better to meet your needs.
We're getting closer here. Okay, let's see here. Going once, going twice. Oh. All right. So here are the results. I don't know if you can see the results there.
Not yet.
But we have 55% people that are not certified, but they're interested in. Oh, there you go. They should have popped up there.
Yeah, there.
Great.
So interest in both CRSP as well as CRST, which is good to see. Great. So what is certification? Certification is defined as the voluntary process by which a non-governmental entity grants a time-limited recognition and use of a credential to an individual after verifying that he or she has met predetermined and standardized criteria. And we'll flesh this out a bit more in the presentation, but as you can see, it's a time-limited recognition, verifiable based on predetermined, standardized, and in our case, standardized test, which is completed, or evaluation. And it also requires ongoing maintenance of the certification process as well. The continuum, right from starting your career in occupational health and safety to advancing to become more advanced in the field of occupational health and safety, really ties in nicely with the Canadian Registered Safety Technician advancing to the CRSP. And this chart really shows a bit of the continuing, right from entering your career and having some either hands-on qualifications or educational qualifications, or both, and advancing that to getting specialized skills. The CRST is really advances things like peer mentorship and peer support to take new people coming into the industry and have them work towards obtaining their CRSP. And then ongoing maintenance. It's really a lifelong learning process, and that's recognized through the CRSP process, where there's a requirement for ongoing maintenance and upgrading of skills to advance not only the field of occupational health and safety, but your individual role in linking with that field as well.
Sorry for that. Already another for a new poll.
Another poll. Where are you in your career plan? Please select the answer that sounds most like you. We'll give you a minute to do that. And just answering the question that's in the chat bar, the question was, my question is, if you go for CRST, can you go for CRSP at a later time? And the answer is yes. We see it as a continuum, that once you achieve CRST, you begin to build towards working towards obtaining CRSP. Thanks for the question.
All right, give people a couple more seconds here. There's still kind of, I think, a lot of questions to read through. A lot of choices, I should say, to choose from. Maybe while we're waiting as well, Tom, how long have you been a certificant for?
Since 1992.
Okay. And Bill, how about you?
2014.
2014, great. All right, so I think we got the majority of the responses here. So just going to end this poll.
Oh, great.
All right.
Highest percentage. I've been working in occupational health and safety for some time and obtained a completed degree or diploma or certificate in occupational health and safety. So that's a great foundation for moving towards CRSP and obtaining CRST in the shorter term.
Yeah, and a lot of people too that have another degree or diploma or certificate in some other disciplines as well. So.
Yes. Okay, great. So that really sets a strong foundation for you to move forward towards CRST or CRSP. So a certification versus a certificate, and we provide a bit of comparison here in the chart. Right from on the left-hand side, professional certification, and on the right-hand side, assessment-based or certificate program. And just for a comparison from a purpose point of view, recognizing professionals who've met the knowledge, skills, and competencies based on a certification, while a certificate program builds capacity and recognition of a specialty area of practice or skill. The results of the assessment process are the measurement from the certification to achieve it, while the results of the education process for a certificate. The difference from professional experience and education as a prerequisite for a certification, well, a certificate program opens the door for newcomers and experienced professionals alike. Awarded to third party, setting the standard for the organization. So that's really CRSP as a separate entity. A certificate is awarded based on training and educational programs through an institution. Well, certification indicates master competencies as measured against defensible standard, usually by application or examination as through CRSP. Well, a certificate program indicates completion of a course or series of courses with a specific focus. A difference is different than a degree granting program. And a standard, again, is defensible, industry-wide process based on job analysis, role delineation that results in outlining the required knowledge and skills. While a course certificate program sets a variety of ways of the facility or committee, the dean instructor that provides it, and the analysis of the topic. And typically designation is used after one's name and can result in a document that you can hang on the wall. And similarly with the certificate program, has ongoing requirements to maintain. Individual must demonstrate knowledge and of the content. Holder must demonstrate that he or she continues to meet the requirements with the continuous improvement and maintenance requirement of CRSP. While a certificate program is the end result, the individual may or may not demonstrate knowledge of the course and content at the end of a separate period of time. It's really a complete and done at that point, unless the individual decides to go to additional advanced training. An assessment of content, usually broad in scope, well, the assessment of a certificate program is more narrow to the content of the program itself. So it provides a bit of a comparison between certification versus a certificate program. The standard setting and examination development through CRSP is something that the organization really takes seriously. And as per our accreditations through third parties as well, there are specific standards that are set out for third party accreditation that you must meet, right from the standard setting to the examination development. And one real strength of the CRSP that I've always really appreciated is the grassroots nature of CRSP. Right from all CRSPs that make it up right to the board of directors, which really comes from the grassroots. And that grassroots philosophy really goes through to the development of the examination as well, where certificates have the ability through a survey on a regular basis to provide a real life leading indicator approach to the development of specific questions that must make up elements of the examination. And this goes through a continuum, starting with the role delineation, validation survey, as I mentioned, the examination and item development. So we actually involve CRSPs in an item development workshop committee that we bring together on a regular basis to help us develop the question. We cut the score or really focus in on the highest areas of concern and importance. We do a statistical analysis as well to ensure that we're getting the correct questions and getting the correct responses. And we're always looking for continuous improvement. And as I mentioned, we assess regularly as an organization and advance that examination and the standards for CRSP to really reflect the leading indicators of the industry. The ISO 17024 accreditation standard for certification of persons. The key issue that it tackles and summarized below here is defined as defining what is to be examined, the competencies, knowledge, skills, and abilities, and standardizing eligibility requirements. The examination must be independent from training and training providers. The examination must be valid, reliable, an assessment tool, and we tie in with educational resources to ensure that we meet that standard on an ongoing basis. And the certification scheme must be safeguarded and impartial. And finally, effective management system must be in place, which is managed very well by Nikki Stewart and the group through our management group for CRSP. The value of professional certification, this I really links in a lot of the questions that we get through many of our presentations through the communications committee throughout Canada, is what's the value of going through CRSP? Why should I put all this effort into it, and how is it going to help me professionally and beyond? And these are some of the key responses that we've got from CRSPs. It provides an ongoing encouragement and recognition of professional growth and development. Professional credibility with that CRSP designation, it is something that's recognizable, and it really gives you that strong credibility, even up to the point of the court system where you're recognized as a professional because of the designation. It demonstrates commitment to the occupational health and safety field. It isn't something that is easy to obtain. I think every CRSP that's met the criteria, I don't think they'd say it's been easy, but it's been very beneficial, and it's been a growth opportunity. Enhancement of employability, and definitely it has increased individuals' ability to be more employable in the occupational health and safety field. Enhanced mobility, because CRSP has various partnerships with other health and safety accreditations and designations throughout North America and throughout the world. And it is transferable with agreements through some of those other groups like the CST in the States. And increase earning potential. And we do an annual survey through CRSP to identify, in a general sense, earning capacity for CRSPs. And that's documented and shared with our members on a regular basis. And improve competency in CRSP and through CRSP in the occupational health and safety field through that continuous improvement. Okay, poll number 3. What do you perceive the value of obtaining BCRSP certification to be?
And this one you can select more than one response. So if there are other responses that apply to you, please make sure that you select those as well. Thank you for the questions as well that you've been asking. We will be able to answer those questions for you at the end of the presentation. So we just thought we would get through the presentation first, and then we can go back and answer those questions. So again, thank you for using the Q&A for that purpose, and just know that again we'll answer those questions at the end of the presentation. Okay, so I think everybody is done. Let's just end the polling here and share the results.
Okay,
So yeah,
demonstrates my professional credibility, which is great and very appropriate. Ethical professional is another key area, and that does tie in very well with CRSP and the benefits and recognition of CRSP, and knowledge of skills, ability in the occupational health and safety field, recognition in that area. And finally, the other top one validates my knowledge and skills and abilities in the occupational health and safety field again. Great. Thank you. I think, Bill, I'm getting close to your slide to turn over. I can finish up this one. Certification standard and impact on occupational health and safety professional. It defines the scope and function of the occupational health and safety professional and technical positions for the CRST. College, university, degree, diploma requirements, impacts on the development of the program. Employers and hiring practices, including pre-screening, pre-qualifications, and hiring. Requires a requirement for advancements in incentives as well. And public confidence, as I mentioned in the previous slide, is something of great importance, and especially these days with social media and where issues come up, they become very public very quickly. Certification individual has demonstrated competency, ethical compliance, and ongoing commitment to professional development. And that is really reflective of CRSP. And one more poll.
Sorry, that was my mistake. I went back accidentally, so.
Oh, okay. And I think the next slide, I'll turn it over to Bill Smith, another member of our communications committee for BCRSP.
You can do that. Thank you, Tom. Good afternoon, good day, everyone. Global connections. Well, the CRSP and CRST designation definitely has an influence worldwide, and that is basically guaranteed through transportability and international influence. There's various organizations throughout the world that BCRSP belongs to, and out of those organizations, they create standards and various standards which basically are bound by other health and safety professionals, is what I want to say. They create a global framework for activities, knowledge, and skills with regards to health and safety, and we are basically bound by that framework. BCRSP supports the INSHPO, again, with regards to that framework, and is using it as a benchmark to access our certification offerings. The CRSP certification blueprint mapping, gap identification, increase in eligibility requirements for CRSP, defining role of professional versus practitioners, technician for job descriptions, CRST certification blueprint mapping, and projects. So there's two certifications. As Tom mentioned previously, there's the Canadian Registered Safety Professional and the Canadian Registered Safety Technician. So as of June 30th, just before we get to that poll, There are 5,800 CRSPs worldwide, and 108 hold the CRST designation. So that's a designation that's coming on strong and is definitely another option for people out there. Poll number 4. I want to learn more about CRSP certification or the CRST certification. We'll give people a minute to answer that poll.
All right, so here are the poll results there, Bill. So it looks like people want to be are interested in both certifications as well as an impact as well for this to the CRSP certification as well.
Well, it's good to have interest in both, and again, the various options is a great thing to have as well. So we'll talk more about the 2 certifications. While both BCRSP certifications draw from the same body of knowledge, the knowledge expectations with respect to understanding and application differ. So there is a difference. A CRSP is expected to have comprehensive knowledge of the competencies and to critically apply this knowledge, whereas a CRST is expected to have the basic understanding of a narrower set of competencies and be able to apply this understanding. So 2 different levels, but pretty much the same information. Eligibility comparison at a glance. So as you see, there's the CRSP certification on the left and the CRST certification on the right. I'm not going to read the whole slide, but I'll give people a few seconds to take a look, and you can also reference it back onto the recording as well. So we'll go to the next slide, Stuart. So Canadian Registered Safety Technician, individual who has met the requirements for registration established by the BCRSP Governing Board. A CRST supports a safe working environment by maintaining OHS administrative processes, conducting training, and using a range of state-of-the-art tools, processes, and common practice solutions to OHS risks. They oversee and drive monitoring and compliance in relation to technical and behavioral risks. So a position that would be ideally suited to that certification right now would probably be someone in the field of what they call a coordinator's position. That'd be a good area to get into in the next step, would be the CRST. Next slide. And the certification process. Again, I'm not going to read every bullet point or every box point, but I'll give people a few minutes just to review that. Keep in mind that the CRST application is similar to the CRSP. You must submit an application with required supporting documentation and payment, and then it's evaluated and the process moves on from that point. Next slide, please. Eligibility, pathway A. Well, you have to be successfully completed a 1-year OHS certificate program, which in reviewing the polls that some people do have. Had 1 year of work experience in the OHS field. Pathway B, successfully completed a 2-year non-OHS formal education, such as community college or university. Completed a professional development course or training related to the 9 competency categories. Had 1 year of OHS experience, or pathway C, graduates of a recognized OHS program. So 3 different pathways that you can look at with regards to CRST eligibility.
And just a quick note again, with some of the other earlier question about somebody was asking about going from a CRST to the CRSP. As you see there, the last point about upon obtaining the 4 years relevant of experience in OHS, if you have, if you're a graduate of the 2-year OHS program, that you can apply for the CRSP certification after you've received your OHS experience.
Thanks, Stuart. CRST examination blueprint domains, very important. When you get through the process, the application, the interviews, you've got to do the exam. Well, out of that exam, there's blueprint domains, and these are the 9 domains, which is covered under the CRST. So you look at applied safety fundamentals. There's 23 competencies in that: ergonomics, fire prevention and protection, health and wellness, HSE auditing, law and ethics, management systems, occupational hygiene, and risk management. So again, 9 areas that are involved with the CRSP examination, and those are the domains and blueprints.
And the blueprints are available on our website as well if anybody was interested in referring to what those further competencies are in those categories.
CRSP, the individual who has met the requirements for registration established by the governing board. CRSP applies broad safety knowledge to analyze and develop systems that will achieve optimum control over hazards and exposures detrimental to people, equipment, material, and the environment. CRSP is dedicated to the principles of loss control, incident prevention, environmental protection as demonstrated by their daily activities. So it's not only health and safety, but environment as well. Something to keep in mind. Certification process. Well, there's the application, there's the evaluation, there's the interview, there's confirmation, approval, the exam, and the annual renewal and certification. Biggest things that I found out of the whole process that was intimidating was definitely the interview, which actually went fairly smooth. I mean, you're talking to a couple of board members and you discuss health and safety. The exam is very intensive, 3.5 hours, multiple choice questions. You're on the spot, you really have to think. So the certification process is lengthy, involved, but if you study hard and ask questions as you prepare, you'll get through the exam. So there's the certification process in a nutshell.
And just one thing to know with regards to the interview, so that in 2019, it's not mandatory for everyone, but we still use it as an auditing purpose. So there are a certain percentage of files that will still have to go through an interview process for that purpose. So just an update there to what Bill had mentioned about the interview process.
Oh, people get off lucky then.
Yeah, they do.
Slide 28, CRSP eligibility. Bachelor's degree or an approved 2-year diploma in occupational health and safety or a closely related field from a recognized academic institution, and 48 months of professional level OHS experience obtained within the last 72 months. So 2 very important factors for eligibility for the CRSP. So we've got various domains and competencies, again, very similar to the CRST for the CRSP, a little more involved, and definitely information that you need to know before you apply and do the exam. So you've got hazards and risks, hazards, risk control mitigation, health and safety management, ethics, professional role and functions, technical, human social sciences, and management sciences. So like the CRST, the blueprints are available on the website as well, correct, Stuart?
That's correct.
We've got questions in the chat, which we can address.
Yeah, we'll address those at the end. So
thanks. Fees, application fee, examination fee, and an annual renewal fee. So
yes.
Go ahead, Stuart.
Go ahead, Bill.
I was just going to say at this stage, I'll pass it back to you, and I think we're going to let Jude take it on from here.
Yep, perfect. Yeah, just to add on to what the slide that you see here. So to apply for either certification, you see there the fee of $525. Each examination fee, each attempt is $175 for that purpose. And then once you are certified, there is an annual renewal fee that you do have to pay as well. So again, there is some investment of time, but also, of course, the investment of money as well within that process. So the next part of the presentation, I'm just going to send that over to Jude to take care of these next slides for us.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Stuart, and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I think the critical piece of the fees is just to see the visibility and support that's received for the CRSP or CRST holders in terms of the professionalism of the designation and the process around it. You know, the fees go to supporting the existence of BCRSP and the great services that that Nikki Stewart and the rest of the team there offer our professional group in terms of public awareness communications, the operating costs for supporting the structure around this, and the great work done to socialize the program. You know, it goes without saying that they're the unsung heroes of championing the CRSP and CRST designation. But in saying that, it's also supported by a number of folks that volunteer their own time, you know, like Tom, Bill, and myself this morning. So very excited to be able to present this morning and go over that. So the renewal requirements are fairly simple and straightforward. Annually, you pay your renewal fees attached to being able to use the designation. And every 5 years, you have to submit continuous professional development points or validation or proof thereof. Next slide there. So mandatory participation in continuous professional development is what supports the ongoing recognition of your commitment to remaining current in your professional role. Every 5 years, you need to complete a minimum of 25 continuing education units. Those can be in continuing education, leadership, instruction, professional practice, or research and publications. There is also a component which is the mandatory completion of an ethics course once every 5 years. So in saying that, hopefully your ethics don't change in 5 years, but it's a good refresher through the time frame just around the professionalism and expectations around that. It's a great overview to see the uptake and support for the CRSP designation since its inception in 1976. You know, you can see there's significant growth over the years in terms of who's involved and, you know, active versus total CRSP holders. There are two classifications of CRSP. You can either be active or non-active. Non-active is for folks that have either reached the end of their career or have transitioned out of a safety position. So when you flag that you're no longer in that role to lead the board. And the pass-fail criteria for the examination. So as you can see, there's generally a large number of applicants and a very large differential between folks that pass the examination process and folks that applied.
Yeah, and you'll just notice with regards to, of course, the pandemic, that's why you see the drop in numbers from 2020 there. So just that was really the main reason why.
And again, with CRST being relatively new in our offering, we currently only have active CRST holders, which is good. And in saying that, the number is continuing to grow year over year, especially with interest in the designation process. So there's the overview of the examination, applicants versus successful candidates. One of the other functions of the BCRSP is recognizing our members. So we've got a recognition award for individuals and organizations, a Volunteer of the Year award for folks that volunteered their time within the association, and Threads of Life Scholarship for folks that are up and coming as safety professionals in the industry. In addition, partnerships with the Canadian Society of Safety Engineering, Women in Occupational Health and Safety Society. So those partnerships are fairly new to the organization in terms of the overall length of existence. But in saying that, it's an exciting relationship because it's not positioning one association against another. We've all got a different piece of the safety puzzle in terms of credentialing and recognizing folks that are members and contributing to the professional existence of safety in Canada. We're glad that we're able to lock arms with a number of partner organizations, both the CSSC and WOHSS, in addition to some other groups that are not listed here. Next slide. And that's where we'll move into questions.